Hey, I'm Nathan Cleary. Today we spoke about life outside of football, what motivates me, family, and this is Marlee and me. All of a sudden, people were taking photos of us, and then they were being published, and then there was like articles. There was people waiting out the front of my house.
What?
Yeah, paparazzi, and even one day I was driving, and I realized this car was like following me. I was like, I think they're following us. Then I took a few turns, They took the exact same turn. So I was pretty much in a car chase.
Jesus.
But yeah, that was like mind blowing to me. I was just like, I probably felt more sorry for her, to be honest. Like, she's younger than I am. And sort of after the World Cup happened, she became, quite a public figure, and it all happened so quick. And now her relationship's in the public eye.
Growing up with a dad as an NRL coach and the talent to draw on the eyes of fans as soon as he burst onto the scene, Nathan has had the spotlight shine on him with more intensity than the average NRL player since his adolescence. So I have to admit, how candid Nathan gets in today's chat was not what I expected, and I'm grateful to have been trusted with it. Through all the conversations in this podcast so far, I think I've learnt the answer to the question of what makes the greats great. It's so clearly their family. Hearing the lessons passed on from his mum and dad and the responsibility and love Nathan feels towards his siblings is so insightful around his drive to succeed, around who he is doing it for. In this chat, you'll hear the surprising emotion Nathan felt with his recent hamstring injury, and of course, what it's like to have the whole country invested in your relationship. This episode was recorded on the lands of the Darug people. Nathan Cleary, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I have to say, I feel like I might get distracted by the beautiful scenery we have outside. We're in your lounge room. Could you tell us about this place to start? This is a beautiful home. How long have you lived here?
This was actually a family home, so I grew up here, and then about just over a year ago, I bought it off my parents. So yeah, they moved out. They have a place over on the beaches. They're living back in Penrith at the moment, but bought it off them. Just thought it was too good to let go, and obviously had a lot of nice memories here growing up. But it is just perfect for me. It's quiet but close enough to training, and it's a 10-minute drive to training, and get the scenery and the birds squawking in the morning and all that. But yeah, I really love it.
Tell us about your family. Who was it that you grew up with?
So there's mum and dad, and then I'm the oldest of four. So I've got sister, brother, sister. Me and my sister are 14 months apart, so we pretty much grew up together and did everything together. Loved each other as toddlers. As we got into teenage years, hated each other, and now it's come full circle, and we love each other again. And then there's about a 6 or 7 year gap. Then there's my little brother and sister who are 20 months apart. So I don't know what mum and dad were thinking. They got through the hard part, got us to grow up, and then thought, let's do it all again. But it's really cool. It's a really cool family dynamic. We all grew up really close. And yeah, just really nice to have such a close family. My little brother's playing footy now, so he's coming into all that craziness. And my little sister's introverted like me. It's actually pretty funny. So it's like dad, me, and my littlest sister Malaya. We're like introverted, quiet, not really outgoing, don't like big group events. Then mum, my other sister, and my little brother, they're just extroverted, loud as, life of the party. So it's an interesting time. We go around for family dinners.
Well, that's good. It's perfectly balanced then. I have seen you guys together, right? And it's always really lovely seeing a family that cares for each other so much. And that's a product of how you were raised and what life was like for you guys as kids. Now, remind me, where did you spend most of your time growing up? I know there was some time in New Zealand, but like, where were you born? Where have you moved?
Yeah, so me and Indy, my sister closest to me, were born on the northern beaches of Sydney, but moved over to New Zealand when I was about 3 years old. Spent 2 years there, moved back for 2 years, then moved back again. And then my littlest brother and sister, Jen Malaya, they were born over in New Zealand. So essentially me and Indy were brought up over there. she developed the accent. I didn't really. And then, Jen and Malay were born over there. So spent a lot of time in New Zealand, then moved back when I was about 14 years old, and I've lived in Penrith ever since. All our families still live on the northern beaches, so still got strong connections over there. Both mum and dad are from there. But yeah, really loved growing up in New Zealand. It was great, and it's not too dissimilar to Penrith.
What do you think are some of the biggest differences from a childhood in New Zealand versus in Australia?
Well, I think compared to like the northern beaches and sort of like that city lifestyle, it's just way more like kickback and chilled. And I think that's why I find the similarities from New Zealand to a place like Penrith. Like it's a lot like just slower lifestyle. It's not as hectic, and that sort of suits my personality and also our families. And just the people, like, I don't know, people in New Zealand are just really down to earth, just really genuine. Not that the people in Australia aren't, but I think it was just a real cool place to grow up. And then moving to Penrith again, like, I've had no complaints with the people around me growing up. Made lifelong friends in both places. And I'm really grateful for our upbringing and where we were brought up.
The similarities as well of kind of New Zealand culture and maybe what it's like out here in Western Sydney is there's a big influence from Māori and Pacifica culture. And that's something that like you're around a lot with your teammates, and it seems like there's this beautiful pride in that culture that seems to come out of the Panthers. Do you think that you feel comfortable in environments like that too because of New Zealand? Yeah,
100%. I actually think that really helped me just in terms of developing relationships with Pacifica and Māori people and Indigenous people, and growing up in New Zealand definitely helped that. And then moving to Penrith, obviously, with the team environment we have, is heavily driven by those Polynesian boys, and they've really created this amazing culture where it feels like a family. And I think that's such like a beautiful thing, and it probably gives us a lot of strength in what we've been able to do over the last few years. It just feels like no matter where you're from, everyone's equal and everyone gets along, and it makes me proud to be a part of a team like that. And I think that did help growing up in New Zealand, and I've loved it.
What do you feel like you've learnt from some of your teammates with those cultures? Like, have they invited you in as the white boy?
A lot of them say that I'm actually a token Samoan now.
Okay.
But no, I just think I think it comes back to, I think Dad's done a pretty good job as the coach creating a culture where people are allowed to be themselves, which is sometimes probably the hard thing for some of these Polynesian boys. They're quite shy naturally, but they have such big, great personalities that they need to have it, like, they need to be encouraged to portray that. And when they do, it's just amazing. Like, just the energy they bring is unbelievable. A lot of them are very funny. They're very energetic, and they're really good at bringing people together. And they've definitely done that with our group. And it's just cool to see people. I always sort of use this term, but someone like Isaiah Yeo compared to like a Bizza. They're completely different, but they would be able to sit down and have a conversation, have a laugh together, and it's just it's mad.
It's that freedom that comes in being yourself. And you've started to mention it there that your dad is a big part of that leadership in the club, but I imagine he had a huge influence on you growing up. I mean, not only for your career path, but understanding those values. Can you tell me a bit more about your dad?
I think it's interesting, like, everyone wants to know about, what did he do for my footy, and he must have been like, taught me so many things growing up about footy, but the main things he taught me was just, values about being a good person. And a lot of those values actually come out on the footy field. Probably the only things he taught me with footy were the most simple things, but it was all around being a good teammate. And that's all he ever sort of told me about. He never told me sort of how to play or, real intricacies about the game. And he would answer if I asked him, but he'd never say, this is what you have to do. And he never pushed me into footy. He never said, he never made me play it. Like, I just had a real passion for it. But always instilled these values in me of just being a good person and being a good teammate. And I think the older I got and the more I progressed through the grades, the more important those things became. And I'm really grateful for him. He said a lot of things to me growing up that are just ingrained in my mind, and I probably didn't understand them then. But now, looking back, like, I'm so grateful to have him as a dad, and he taught me a lot. Dad used to always say to me, he said, "Don't be afraid to think." And I used to just think it was some like joke, but he'd just always say it to me. And now looking back, I'm like, it's so true. Like you need to be able to think for yourself and make decisions for yourself and have that sort of independence. But also like, yeah, the underlying thing was just to be a good person. And I really appreciate that, because I think in the world at the moment, there's just so much just like hate for no reason. And I think people can spread a lot more love by just being a good person.
Yeah.
And, you know, things might not be going perfectly for you, but doesn't mean you need to bring other people down. And they were always big on that. So
Yeah, I'm an elder sibling as well, but I mean, being the oldest of four, do you feel a sense of responsibility to be that role model or be that voice that your siblings can talk to?
yeah, I do. I probably never thought about it, but definitely when I moved out, I was like, I probably fell into the trap at times of just thinking, oh, they're family, so they're always there, instead of like actually trying to make more of a commitment to talk to them and see them. And it's probably still something now that like I think, oh, they won't really want to talk to me, but when I do reach out, I do speak to them, they're really engaged, and I just have a real like, after doing that, it's a really nice feeling. So I really enjoy being able to catch up with them and just hear how they're going. And obviously we're all at different stages in our life, but even the other day, like we were at a funeral and Indy sort of emceed it, like the wake, and just seeing her do that, like I'd never seen her do it before. And I felt really like proud of her. And it's just cool to see them sort of going through the journey of life and following their own different paths. And, you know, sometimes I feel a bit sorry for them as well, because they've got me and Dad, and, you know, everyone sort of talks about us, but actually focusing on them and what they're doing in their life and what they're achieving. And it's cool to see.
Yeah, I've seen some incredible stuff that your sister Indy's doing as well. A lot of events with women out here in Western Sydney. Like you can tell she's got that leadership quality that obviously comes from your family environment. Now, I dare say this is the only thing we have in common, Nathan, because I am terrible at sport and I could never do anything that you've done. But we've both got dads who were in rugby league when we were born, right? And so you're born into it. It's a big part of your identity from the get-go. Do you, even though your dad didn't push you to play footy, were you drawn to it because that's kind of all you knew?
Yeah, well, for as long as I can remember, I had a passion for footy. Like, there's photos of me when I was just walking out of footy in my hands, setting it up on a tee. Like, it's just all I knew. And actually, Mum's side, her brother played NRL and her dad played NRL as well. So it's sort of always been around me. There's photos of me, curly hair, dummy in my mouth, reading a big league when I was, young as. So I just always loved it. I played soccer growing up, which sort of proves that, Dad never pushed me into it. And I just had a passion for all sports really. But the real like sort of deep love was for rugby league, and knew eventually I'd end up playing it. But I think just being around it and just seeing what it was all about. And, school holidays, Dad would take me into training, and I just thought it was best day ever. So to be actually be able to reflect on that and look now and be able to do that as a job, and it's sort of become a part of me, is it's actually mind blowing. And I'm very grateful for that.
Before we jumped on mic, I was saying to you that for me, like coming and working in rugby league now, it's like coming home. That community that comes with being in rugby league, and that's not just like, who you play with or being a player even, but it's like everyone who's connected is really special. And do you feel that? Do you see, people who you grew up around or who were in the sport as well kind of, cheer you on? Yeah,
for sure. I think that's the thing I've probably enjoyed the most about rugby league, is that camaraderie and just that team environment. Like, some of my best mates still to this day, they don't play footy anymore, but I played footy with them and built that friendship through that. Met a lot of people. When I first moved to Penrith, I was that shy kid. It took me a while to make friends. But I made them essentially through playing footy and that sort of team camaraderie. And it's no different today. I have lifelong friends made through rugby league, and you even touched on that community feel. Like even if you see like an ex-player that you've never met before, you feel that sort of connection because you've both sort of lived that life. And I think that's a really nice part of it. And I think it's actually a lot of love around it. Like I think a lot of people look out for each other if they're a part of that community and want to help. And particularly if anyone's gone through a tough time. So I think that's a really
100%.
nice thing.
I think that's one of the most powerful things about rugby league that, maybe you don't see in other communities, whatever they are, but it's like when you're in it, you're part of that family forever.
Yeah.
That's really special. And speaking of that, now your brother is kind of almost following in your footsteps. You mentioned he's pursuing a footy career. Like, you spoke about how you see Malaya and you're like, oh my goodness, she's growing up so much. And then Jet's doing this now as well. Like, what's that like, seeing him kind of head in that direction?
Yeah, it's a feeling of pride again. It couldn't have been easy for him, and it's probably something that I've never really wanted to speak to him about or brought up with him. Like, I never wanted to be that older brother that was trying to tell him how to play footy. Like, I'd always be there for him if he wanted to ask, but I didn't want to push him into something that he didn't want to do or feel extra pressure. I think that's what I like about him making a big decision to move over to New Zealand to chase his dream. Like, I think it's just a nice opportunity for him to get away from me and Dad and create his own name for himself. And there's definitely in moments where I've sort of felt for him, particularly when he first started playing for Penrith, like in the juniors. There was like already articles being written about him, and I was just like, oh, this is not how it's supposed to be for a 15, 16-year-old kid, but it's just the world we live in now. And I think I'm just proud of the way he's handled himself so far. It's obviously still a long way to go, but I think he knows that he'll do everything he can, but it's still, we're going to love him at the end of the day no matter what happens, and I think that's important. So
yeah, I mean, you've already spoken about what your family unit's like, so it's good. He's in good hands support-wise, regardless of what happens.
For sure, and he's got the personality too to be able to back himself and have a real crack. But I think he knows deep down we're in his corner and supporting him no matter what.
You mentioned there being articles written about him at that young age. Like, I mean, that's crazy. But when you were first coming through because of your dad, was there media coverage straight away?
A little bit. I think it was different back then in terms of social media. It wasn't as prevalent and as big as like these days. Like, I just look at some kids now and it's like, oh, it's crazy how much sort of media attention, the way social media is, it's just everywhere, it's just in your face. And it was I probably felt it a little bit growing up, but nothing compared to say like what Jet would feel now. It probably helped me in a way to grow up like quicker, particularly when I first started playing. Like, there was a bit of media attention around, but just compare it to now and it's like mind-blowing, like what these young kids have to go through.
100%. You mentioned that you've always been a pretty shy person though, and especially like when you're a teenager, like I remember being so awkward and like hating any kind of attention or whatever. Have you always been able to kind of block it out, or how do you respond to, how did you respond to those initial sort of media moments?
No, I think I struggled at times. I think early on it was nice because I was the young 18-year-old kid playing all right and the media seemed to like me. But I think that's the trap you can fall into is once you're ready into that, and when you're actually getting built up, it's like sometimes you're getting built up to be torn down, and it doesn't take much for that to happen. And that's something that I learned pretty quick as soon as I played Origin. After that, I probably fell into a bit of a form dip, and then that's when the media sort of turned from, he's going really well, he's this young kid, to now, he's an Origin player and he's not performing. And that probably affected me a bit, and I was probably someone that growing up I did really deeply care about what other people thought of me, and I always wanted people to think that I was a nice person and a good guy, and now there were things being written about me by people that had no idea who I was, and I just couldn't understand that at the time. But I'm really glad that it happened, especially at a young age. I think I was 20 or 21 at the time, and I got to learn that pretty quick about really valuing people's opinions should matter and those close to me. And at the end of the day, you just can't please everyone, unfortunately, and there's a lot of negativity out there, and just reading comments and all that stuff. It's just that realization of those who are in your circle and really supporting you, listen to them. Why would I listen to someone that I've never met before? They've got no profile picture on Instagram. Why would I listen to that? But at the end of the day, I think it's human nature. I think we do actually care about what people think about us, and sometimes it can be a rude shock when it's not what you want to hear. So I learned that, and it's definitely helped me. I think there's still periods where you can fall into the trap of, especially if you're going well, like wanting to see what people are saying and all that. But then the flip side of that is it affects you so much more if you're not playing well in the negative comments. So I think I've found quite a good sort of equilibrium. And yeah, I'm very lucky with the people around me, my support network, and just really taking their opinion on board.
I think that when people speak about you as the athlete that you are, you're quite well regarded for your level head in high pressure moments on the field. That, I don't imagine, is a switch that you just can flick on and off. How have you built that mentality? Like I just imagine mindset wise, that's hard. You've got to do some work there. Is there someone else that you get help from, or like how do you have that?
Yeah, I've had a lot of help along the way, which I'm always, very appreciative of. And but I think you got to want to do it as well. Like there's always going to be people there at your service to help, particularly in the environments that we're in. We're so lucky we've got so much at our service to use and help us with, but you got to want to do it. And I probably did that after those periods of sort of dips in form and not playing my best and sort of letting outside noise affect me. I wanted to sort of learn more about how my brain works and how I can just get better. And I think that's helped me not only as a person, but in high pressure situations. And but I'm the biggest believer of preparation is what gives you confidence to perform in those moments. And I probably always saw that as physical preparation, and I love physical preparation, getting the reps in. If it's a field goal, kicking field goals, putting myself under pressure and seeing them go over. But it's probably the last few years where I've realised how much the mental side of it comes into it, and just having that confidence that you've seen it in your head before, like you know what to do. And I think that's been a nice feeling for me, like just seeing it sort of come to fruition. Like this work is actually, it's now working on the field.
Yeah.
The work I've done off the field is working on the field. And I really like that I get in those moments now, and it's sort of doubts come into your mind still, but it's easier to flick those doubts into positive thoughts. And it's probably something that frustrated me at the start. I was like, why am I still having these negative thoughts and having these doubts? But then I sort of realised, I was like, all right, well, they're always going to be there, but it's about how quickly I can flip it into a positive thought and trust my preparation and trust all the work I've done. And I sort of often tell myself that I'm like, you've done the work, now it's time to enjoy it. And yeah, I think that game day should be the funnest day of the week because of the preparation you've put in, where sometimes early in my career it wasn't. I sort of had this anxiety around game day and not playing well, or so worried about all the negative things, where now I can flip it quite quickly and just enjoy the moment. And
Are you the type to be quite hard on yourself?
Yeah, like I think it helps me in a way that I probably don't feel pressure that much, because the most pressure I put on myself is from me. It's not from anyone else. So I think it helps me, but it's sometimes annoying after a bad game. Like I sit at home and just go through everything and just like, oh, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
But I think that's helped in a way, and it's helped me to improve too, because I want to have more like good feelings than the bad ones.
You've had so much success with footy in the last couple of years. You guys are so dominant, and it's been amazing to watch. But the more that you succeed, the more that you're at the top, does that almost mean more pressure or more criticism? Like, what does it feel like for you? Does it feel different to what it did, 2 years ago?
For me personally, no. Like I think there is more noise around it and probably more pressure, but I don't necessarily feel it. Like I feel like it comes with experience, and I'm a couple of years older now, and but I think what we've done in the past, like it doesn't even really register in my mind. Like I just keep focusing on what's next and how to improve, and I think that's something that's helped us as a group as well. Like we'll come in every day and just try and find ways to be better. I often say it as well, but like the things that we've done, like they're things that when we're retired we can look back on and be happy and share a beer over and be like, wow, we actually did that. But for the moment, it's like, why not just create more and enjoy the ride that we're on and make the most of it, rather than being too caught up in what we've already done. Because at the end of the day, every year each team's going to be better, players are going to be better. So if you're not improving, you're you're stagnant and people are going past you. And that's sort of the mindset I've always had. And it's probably the one thing that, like, looking at myself, I want to get out of my career is just to be content at the end, saying, you know, I did everything I could to make the most of the talent I was given. And that's sort of, the mindset I have. So achievements and all that come along the way, they're amazing, but they're sort of a byproduct of the work you do.
What do you think is the biggest lesson that you've had to learn through a tough time?
That's a good question. I've learned a lot of lessons throughout my life, but I think just being true to yourself is a big one. Like, I think I've definitely felt moments where I've just tried to fit in and probably not been real genuine, or you know, not stuck to my values. And that's probably like a thing that I would say is just sticking to your values, working out what they are, and sticking to them. And I think probably going back to like the social media thing, like that was probably a lesson that I had to learn pretty quickly. And yeah, I think that it's made me a better person today. And I think those moments of adversity, they actually do make you better people, and you actually need them through your life, and they're going to come, and they're not great at the time, but you can look back on them and be proud of how you've grown out of them, and actually seeing them as an opportunity to grow. You know, I think growth's so important in your life, and just having that sort of, not a victim mentality, having that sort of growth mindset.
I think probably what you're alluding to there is what we know was a TikTok moment, right? Which, like, I honestly, like, I forgot about that. I think we were all under so much pressure during COVID, and that becoming a headline now seems kind of crazy. But I think for me, in remembering it when I was preparing for our conversation, it's remembering how young you still are, right? And like how young you were when that sort of stuff happens. When you're in the public eye at a young age, the mistakes that all of us make, there's a different spotlight for you. How long did it take you to be able to look back at that, and I don't know, I imagine there was a lot of emotions, a lot of anger, what's that roller coaster been like?
Yeah, it was just hating myself, really, like just regret. But you know, like the actual moment was bad, but the way I reacted after it was what I was most disappointed about. And like, I wasn't, like, it took me to a place where I wasn't even like totally honest with my parents, and that killed them. Like, it was just like, even thinking back on it now, it was just like so stupid. But that probably hurt me the most, is like seeing them and how it affected them. And it's sort of, that's what made the realization for me, is like, all right, things might not go the way you wanted to. You might do silly things, make mistakes, but just be true to yourself and be honest. And especially to those close to you, like, they're always in my corner no matter what, and they even were through all of that. And I think that's only made our relationship stronger and closer. But you learn those lessons the hard way sometimes, and I definitely did. And it probably took me a little while just to get my head around it and what I'd actually done. But then I sort of just flipped it to, you know, I wanted to make those people that were in my corner proud of me, and I wanted to sort of, just be a better person and learn from this moment, like not dwell on it or make excuses like, you know, oh, we were in COVID, I didn't know what to do, I was under pressure, blah, 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 blah. Like, that was just not the right mindset to have. And those things probably flooded into my head originally.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way I acted was just poor, and it was bad, and I knew that. And that I couldn't change what I'd done, but I could control what I did in the future and the person I was. And I definitely wanted to do that and just be a better person from it. I should have known that, because every time I tried to lie to my mum growing up, she always found out. So, and she had taught me that lesson from day dot, and that's probably what hurt me, is that is a value of mine, and I went against it, and it hurt mum and dad more than anything, and that's what hurt me the most.
As a teenager, did you have that rebellious phase, or were you? Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
If you ask mum and dad, I was the worst child. I think I went through those teenage years, and I don't know what happened to me, but just had this rebellious side to me where, I don't know, I guess I was a bit of a risk taker, and liked to walk the fine line. And but you know, I think you learn things as you grow up, and luckily matured, and then the TikTok thing came around. And it was back to my teenage self. But yeah, I think I've grown up out of that, and I think there's things that I definitely regret in life. But if those things didn't happen, would I be the person I am today? Yeah. Probably not. So I think it's like just looking at it like that.
I think what's been really interesting over the last couple of years, for the first time, I don't know, maybe it's just rugby league's in a particular position or because of social media or whatever, it feels like some of you guys are creeping into that, not just athlete status, but like almost celebrity. I know it's a bit of a weird word. I know it's a bit weird. But it feels like we're almost heading in that direction. We're almost heading towards like how it is in the US. Obviously, it's much bigger numbers and things look different. But, like the top athletes in that country are, huge celebrities. LeBron James, you think of Kobe Bryant's on the wall just there with a mural, but people like that I don't know if we've ever seen that, well, particularly not in rugby league, but it feels like we're heading there. And I have to say the pinnacle of that in rugby league so far for me, maybe it's my own personal interest, has been your relationship in the last 12 months. At first I was like, what is going on? I mean, like, this is great in a just happy for you kind of way, but Daily Mail headlines speculating you and your dating life and your I think your partner's profile plays a big part in that as well. But did it shock you?
Yeah. It was like, I don't know, like whenever I was with her, it sort of just felt like we were two normal people because we're both quite, we don't like to see ourselves as the footy player or the football player. Yeah. Like we're more than that. And when we were together, we just thought it was just normal. And then all of a sudden people were taking photos of us and then they were being published. And then there was like articles. There was people waiting out the front of my house.
What?
Paparazzi. And even one day I was driving and I realized this car was like following me. And I was like, I think they're following us. And then I took a few turns, they took the exact same turn. So I was pretty much in a car chase.
Jesus.
But yeah, that was like mind blowing to me. I was just like, I could understand it, I guess, because people care, but like also it's like, I don't know, it's just, I just thought like you deserve some sort of private life. But, we learned that pretty quick and I probably felt more sorry for her, to be honest. Like she's younger than I am and sort of after the World Cup happened, she became quite a public figure, and it all happened so quick. And now her relationship's in the public eye, and it was just it was just like hard to wrap your head around. But we spoke about it and said just control the things that we can control. We fortunately can't control what people are doing. And just try and go about life as normal as we can. But yeah, then even recently there was like an article that came out that we're engaged. And my mum sent me the article. She's like, did you forget to tell me something? I was just like, this is just mad. Like, I don't know, just people can just write stuff that literally has no truth to it at all. So, we try to take ourselves out of that world as much.
I just think like, God, I'm pretty sure anyone who's been like is in a new relationship, right? Like there's so many pressures or so many like, I don't know, you still have those nerves and you're figuring it out and whatever, but you had to like almost figure it out with the Daily Mail following you. Was there a point where like, I don't know, did you realise that there were cameras taking photos? I think the park moment was like the moment. Yeah. Did you know there were cameras there?
No.
Yeah, that's
like people think that I did because I had my shirt off. But I swear to God, I had no idea. And to be honest, like leading up to that, like, we were probably pretty blasé about like how much people actually cared. And it was in Perth and it was just, whatever. But then after the park, we went back to the car and then we saw someone with the big camera there. And then, pretty much a couple of hours later, it all came out. So, it was interesting. And, I think one thing I do like, though, is that luckily we've both been able to sort of keep our relationship quite, like, private. Yeah. Like, obviously there's photos and that, but I think that's saying that we're both quite private people and, we won't really speak on what our relationship is like. We're just
Of course.
just grateful for each other, and I'm very lucky that I've got her, and she's super supportive, and so those things that come with it, it's a bit weird and was hard to wrap our head around, but you know, it is what it is.
Do you feel like people have calmed down a bit? Because like after the hard launch, it was like, okay, you got your tick. It's happening. Have people settled down a bit?
Yeah, it's definitely settled a bit, which is nice. But to be honest, like, if we go out and people see us, like, they're always really nice and have some pretty nice interactions. So I think when you think of it like that, like, I guess little kids and that coming up, like, it's really cool to see. So, you know, you can't look at it in a negative light all the time. We're actually in a position where we can have a positive influence on people and make, you know, a little kid's day by getting a photo or something like that. So
they had 2 for 1.
Well, sometimes I get brushed out of it. Oh, not you. But yeah, it does have its nice moments too.
Well, taking that whole element out of it, having a partner in your life makes things different. Like we were talking again before we got on mic, like I have a partner, like, and it's been a 12-month thing, and like I'd never been in that situation before, and I realized like the value add in having someone to be able to talk to about your journey, about your dreams, and like what's it like now having that addition to your support network? Yeah,
I've loved it, and it's like all that I ever could have dreamed of in having a partner, to be honest. Like it's just added new perspective, but it's also just added, I don't know, this extra layer there that when things are going good, you want to share it with them and be able to talk about it. But when, you know, things aren't going good, they're there too, and they're just super supportive. And I've absolutely loved it. So it's been great, and just a great addition to life, to be honest. And it's made me really happy.
We love love.
We love love. Love wins.
Going back to where you are now, and you know, I think I mentioned this earlier, like there's so many things that you have achieved, but you've still got so much of your career ahead of you. You said that you are always thinking about like the next thing, the next achievement. It's like obviously it's another premiership, it's whatever, but do you have other ideas of things you really want to achieve, maybe that aren't about football but still in this next period of time?
Yeah, I think like it's interesting when you say like the next achievement. It's probably not like so much my mindset in terms of like I don't know, like achievements. It's more like achievements, like little wins within myself. I think that's part of like looking ahead, and the next thing is like it's the next day for me. It's the next day of how can I be a better person? How can I be a better player? How can I just get better? And that's probably a mindset that I have a lot, is just finding ways to get better. And a lot of the time it's little incremental gains, but over a long period of time they turn into big gains. So but that's sort of my mindset rather so much than accolades or achievements. Like I believe that they're a byproduct of the work you put in and the work of just trying to improve. And I think that's just as much off the field as it is on it. And I do believe that if you're improving yourself as a person, it comes out in your footy as well.
You've just come back from an injury. I mean, I can imagine like that is one of those things that kind of tests that mentality that you've worked on a lot and that looking to get better. When you came back, like it just looked like you hadn't spent 2 seconds away and you were just so happy to be there. What does that process look like in the rehab period?
I'd had injuries before, but nothing like this. It was just like I'd done my hammy last year, came back and felt sweet, and I was like, oh, it's sweet, like I'm not going to do my hammy again, like it feels so good. And then started this year, little twinge of my other hammy. I was like, oh, it's all right, like it's just something little, like it'll be fine. Then it like just like even that period like prolonged a bit, and I was like, oh, it's not feeling the best. Then came back and was like, did the work, came back, felt like, all right, it's good, like I'm good to go, felt really good. Then bang, gone again. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? Like, I think some injuries, if you break a bone, you're like, all right, fair enough, like couldn't really do anything about it. But I'm like, I felt like I ticked every box. I felt like I prepared well. I was feeling good in the game, and then it went again. Like, it was probably just confusion, frustration. It was coming into a period that I'd sort of set my sights on in terms of Origin. Like I felt like it was sort of a good time for me to come into that arena and feel really good. So yeah, just sort of, I knew straight away when it happened, I was like, this isn't good. Like this is worse than what it was before. Went into the sheds, had a cry to myself because I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on. And then, yeah, I think just from there, like I gave myself 2 days of pretty much sooking and carrying on and just feeling sorry for myself and just trying to deal with that. And then, yeah, pretty much after that 48 hours, I was like, all right, well, there's no point whinging. It's not going to fix anything. I just got to set my sights on getting back and having the best rehab I can do and give myself every chance. And I think that's something that I really wanted to do, is just leave no stone unturned, so that when I do get back, it's like, all right, I've done everything I can. It is what it is sort of mentality. But this time around was sort of like, all right, I need to take myself out of my own body and look at everything that I was doing and see where it was sort of going wrong. And I was very lucky that I had a support team around me at the club, sort of physios, high performance staff that I really trusted. And they were just as much a part of this journey as I was. They were apologising to me when I got injured. I was just like, it's not your fault. Like we've done everything we could, like to your best knowledge, you've been there every step of the way. And that's what made me realise that they really did care. And we sort of went on this journey together. And not only that, but the support network I had through my family and my partner and just having them there and knowing that, you know, they love me for who I am, not for the footy player I am.
Yeah.
So the fact that I wasn't playing wasn't like, I felt embarrassed when I did my hammy again. I don't know why. I just felt this sense of embarrassment, like, oh, you're injury prone now. You've come back and you're injured again and you're letting the boys down. But, you know, the love I got from everyone around me at the club and all that, like, made me realise that it wasn't like that. And I just had to do what I could to get back. And yeah, we just went through a process of working out sort of why it happened, what I could do to best prevent it in the future. And yeah, it was actually enjoyable just being able to, like, I'd just been stuck in this routine of what I'd done and just done it over and over and over again. And now it was time to, I guess, adapt and grow out of it. You know, it wasn't working anymore, so I had to change it. And, you know, change can be scary sometimes, but it can also be exciting. And I sort of flipped my mindset to making it exciting and learning more about myself, learning more about my body, learning more about what works, what doesn't. And, you know, I think I can never guarantee that I'm never going to get injured in my hamstrings or soft tissue again, but I feel like I'm doing everything I can to best prevent it. And that's what gives me peace of mind. And I guess that's what allowed me to come back and just play freely and, you know that I'd done everything I could.
It's so interesting that embarrassment is what you felt.
Yeah.
That,
it's weird.
Yeah. You just wouldn't expect that. But I wonder, is it almost the little voice that kind of goes, if I'm not playing footy, who am I? Yeah,
I reckon it was. I think through the period of being injured, it gave me a bit more of a purpose to, like, not just be the footy player, which now, like, I think it's something that I could probably look back on in the future and be like, all right, this period absolutely sucked at the time, but it actually helped me so much in the long run. Not in, like, in terms of, like, me not just being the footy player, but also my preparation and sort of stuff that I'm doing outside of footy. And yeah, I think there always is that sort of little voice on your shoulder saying, you know, who are you if you're not Nathan Cleary, the halfback of the Penrith Panthers? And I think that's maybe where the embarrassment did come from. But yeah, I think, you know, you realise that the people around you and the people that care about you see you as so much more than just that.
Well, Nathan, you've spent so much time having this conversation. Thank you for sharing so much. I think the last thing that I wanted to ask you was, like, when you go through life these days, whether it's running out on the footy field or maybe you're doing something that's out of your comfort zone, is there anyone or any thought that comes to mind that's a real motivator or that inspires you to be the best that you can be?
I think it's those people around me, like, just I know that they're always in my corner, so I want to make them proud. And I know they've put so much time and effort into me, and just caring for someone in general can be quite draining, but, like, particularly my parents, they've done it for all four of us kids and so many other people. And not only that, but like I've got a big extended family that all are massive supporters of me, and just trying to make them proud, but also just trying to make myself proud too. Like just being, it's a constant battle with your own self, and I think when you put in the work and you see good things come from it, you can sort of have a moment and be quite proud of yourself and see how far you've come. And I guess on top of that, my granddad and grandpa, they're up in heaven, but just trying to make them proud. I always look up to them before every game, and I know they'd love to be here. So I think that's a motivating factor for me. And yeah, it's mainly around just making people proud, and I'm very lucky with my support network, and yeah, I'm a lucky one for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you are making all your family pretty proud. Thank you so much for your time, Nathan.
No, cheers, thank you.
A huge thank you to Nathan for being so open and honest in this conversation. There's so much value in the insight he gave into what's made him so successful in his career so far. I think we can all take away from this conversation the value of what our families impart on us as we're growing up. It certainly made me reflect on what my mum and dad have given me on my long drive home from Penrith after this conversation. Well, that brings us to the end of the first season of Marlee and Me. Thank you for listening and engaging with these really amazing conversations I feel so lucky I got to have. I think every single one of these players and former players that I sat down with surprised me in some way with how much they gave and how much they wanted to share the parts of them that are not what has happened on the footy field. I think it's reminded us all that the humans we see out there scoring tries, kicking conversions, winning premierships are so much more than that. And that's what makes this game so great. If you haven't heard any of the episodes, they are all available now wherever you listen to your podcast. So go back and have a listen. Thank you once again.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights. Action, 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour, grab a seat on the couch for that. And of course, my favourite, Freddie in the 8.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm. Subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.